Good morning. Good morning, fellow Agilists. I don't want to bore you with killing you with PowerPoint presentations. I want to keep this quite real, and I want you to walk away with concepts that you can actually take home with and you could implement in your business. So I'm Celicia Muregess. I'm actually an Agile practitioner. I've been a consultant at quite many organizations, and I've had lots of learnings through the years. So first, let me take you through my journey so that you trust what I'm saying. So I started off at Standard Bank in 2007. I started off in business intelligence, so working with dashboards, data mining, doing SaaS development. We even did Python back in the day and SQL. And I also found a love for data and how data can actually enable you. Moving from Standard Bank, I went into being a business intelligence consultant, and I worked for many different organizations, working with their data, translating their data into meaningful dashboards. Then I went into business and system analysis, and I think that was because I wanted a change of career. And also, I wanted to become a true consultant. So being able to adapt to many different things and understanding the entire landscape. So being a business analyst, I studied at FTI, but I also, at this point, worked at Isometrics. So I worked with the software development team. I understood what they were actually trying to achieve, and that's when I actually formed a love for software development. And that's where my career progressed. Moving from software development or from business analyst, I was promoted to an SDLC manager. SDLC manager is not a common title, as you would know, but it's the life cycle of the software and the delivery of it. At that time, I managed testers, business analysts, and I worked closely with the software development team. And in 2012 is when I was introduced to Agile. So I was introduced to Agile. I think I've attended a training course, and it was a ha-ha moment for me. Like, the Agile concept made perfect sense. I could have thought of it. Why didn't I think of it? It spoke to me, and it spoke to how we could actually deliver pieces of work quickly and adding value to the organization. Then from being a SDLC manager, I then groomed into being a Scrum Master. I worked as a Scrum Master at different organizations, being Internet Solutions. Then I went into NetBank. At Internet Solutions, we delivered cool cloud solutions, also in software development teams. I ran about 3 to 4 Scrum teams. I implemented the Agile practices at Internet Solutions. And then I went on to being a consultant at NetBank. At NetBank, I worked at Group Technology. We did robotics, process automation, which was cool. And I also worked with the enterprise data layer. So working with data again, how data could actually make informed decisions for their business and projects that's coming up. Then I moved into being an Agile coach, and then I took a break from Agile for a while, and I joined DVT as a business analyst practice lead, where I was mentoring business analysts, systems analysts, process analysts as well. And I worked with lots of clients as well to understand their landscape and what actually is fit for purpose. But being in that role, I realized that my passion laid with Agile delivery. And that's where I am today. I work for +1X, but I'm working with F&B as my client. So I'm actually working in F&B's Innovation Hub, in their commercial innovation hub. So that F&B app that you have on your phone, that's part of my team's implementation. The online presence you see at F&B is part of my team's implementation as well. But what's different is, because F&B is deemed as one of the most innovative banks, there's a pace that you have to keep up with. They look for transformation quickly. They look for adding value quickly. So working in an innovation hub, you have to constantly look at delivering value quickly and taking it to market quickly. So that's quite exciting in the role that I'm in. So I have 17 years of experience. Of that, 12 years has been in software development and 8 years in the Agile domain. Okay, so that's enough about me. Let's get into my topic. Don't be afraid to venture into the unknown. Why did I choose this topic? Have you noticed that there's been such a stigma around Agile now? When I actually was introduced to Agile in 2012, it was simple. It made perfect sense. There wasn't rule books of how you should implement it. There wasn't guidelines on what you should do. You implemented based on the concept of delivering value continuously, making sure that you're always looking at improvement continuously. With the frameworks, I think organizations have lost the essence of Agile. So, Steve Jobs, you all would know who Steve Jobs is. He has a quote that says, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." It takes a lot of hard work to make something simple, though. To truly understand the underlying challenges, to come up with elegant solutions. It's not just about minimalism or getting rid of clutter, decluttering. It involves digging deep into the complexity of the problem. To be truly simple, you have to go really deep. And sometimes going really deep is not just understanding problems at a technology level, but understanding problems at a cultural level as well, organizational cultural level, as well as team cultural level. To have deeply understand the essence of a product, you have to be able to get rid of the parts that are non-essential. What does that mean? The non-essential parts is, so different frameworks tell you that you have to have these ceremonies, but do they all add value in your organization? Maybe lean, cut down what is not necessary, and make it fit for purpose, make it fit for your organization. So simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. When you look at delivering software or you look at delivering functionality, the first thing you consider is customer experience, right? Client experience. How simple would it be for the customer to use without needing a training manual, without needing training? It needs to come intuitively that this is the next step that they take. And it goes the same for Agile practices. You shouldn't have to go back to a guideline or a rule book of what happens next. It should come to you intuitively that this is the next step in the process. This is the next step that I should take. It should be organic at some level. Okay, so the goal is simplicity. Step 1, declutter and get rid of the non-essentials. So what Agile is and what Agile is not. So Agile is about continuously delivering value in small chunks, but delivering value quickly and being able to say that this piece of functionality or this development item is now bringing in revenue or it's adding value to the organization. What Agile is not. Agile is not Jira. If you have Jira implementation and you have defined it very strictly of what your Jira does, it kind of limits the freedom of being Agile. Jira and tools like Jira is supposed to aid your journey, not restrict your journey. Agile is also not stand-ups. Stand-ups, you could, walking into an organization as a consultant, the first thing I do when I enter a new organization is I observe. I spend at least 2 months just observing how they do things. Then you have stand-up, right? And they talk about the meetings that they went to. Adds no value to the sprint goal. Why are we talking about that? They talk about things that are not relevant to what they're trying to achieve in the sprint. But stand-ups are meant to say, this is what I'm working towards to achieve delivering this piece of value to the organization. Agile is also not Scrum. It's not safe, and it's not your different frameworks. These are different flavors of Agile in your implementation, but you don't have to follow it to a T. You make it fit for purpose in your organization. Okay, so that's when I say that these are methodologies, frameworks, and practices, but they are different flavors of the implementation. It's not what Agile is. Okay, to achieve simplicity, understand the underlying challenges in the organization and in your team. In order to do that, so in my journey, I've witnessed quite a few teams and implementations working across many organizations, mostly in the financial industry. Sorry. Then I understood that there was commonality between what was happening from company to company. So one of the underlying challenges is solutions delivered do not achieve the desired results. And this is because the implementation team was not clear on the end result of delivering this piece of software and what it should actually achieve. So what I've started implementing is walk the implementation team through the business problem. If your implementation team understands the problem that you're trying to solve, they will come up with elegant solutions. And if they can measure that, that's even better. So what I did in one of my massive initiatives at FMB is the product manager explained the business case to the entire team. And the team questioned and poked holes at it to say, what supports this business case? How do you know it's a problem? Then he went back to the stats to say, this is what the stats are showing, and this is what I'm expecting once we deliver this piece of functionality, this is what I'm expecting to see. Having your team understand the problem will make them feel part of the actual solution. Okay, then we have jazz sessions with business. So include business in your actual solution. Let them understand what you're actually trying to achieve at the end, and let them be part of the solution. You'll see from a cultural point of view, I know that sometimes Scrum say protect your team from business and the noise, but if you have an inclusive culture where you invite business to say, let's solution together, you will start delivering value much faster because you have the entire team or implementation team with business working towards a common goal. Frequent system demonstrations. So, reviews, sprint reviews. Sprint reviews, sometimes teams go through a presentation of what they delivered. No, show business value from a system point of view, from actually what was implemented, what you achieved previously, what they can actually start seeing the value in quicker. And then we have define how to measure the results. So once you take that piece of software or that piece of functionality or that process live, define how to measure the success of it, and if it does actually meet the business case that you aimed for. We put this as part of our actual delivery, so we would involve your BI teams and your data teams to actually understand the data and then start measuring. Once you go live, start measuring. So one of the projects that we worked on, it was a credit solution that we had for merchants, and we went pilot. So I think we delivered this in March. We went pilot with this solution, and we were expecting to achieve maybe 2 million in revenue, but from March till now, we actually achieved 11 million. Still in pilot, but we were able to deliver value quicker to market, and we made it simple for the customer to actually experience. Okay, the next underlying challenge is failing to manage new items of work with maintaining production issues, as well as defects. This is a common problem that I see in most implementation teams. They have capacity for the actual sprint and new work, but they don't actually cater for capacity of how to maintain what you've already delivered. So the concepts we came up with is a defect champion. So we have a weekly roster of a defect champion. There's one person assigned. However, he has a buddy. So it doesn't mean that he has to solve all the defects, but he's the champion of it. So he has to allocate who can actually work with him if he can't do it himself. But this has worked very well because it has a clear line of or understanding of who's working on what and who's trying to achieve what when. So it makes it more elegant when you're doing your actual delivery of new features. The next concept that we had was production support champion. So production support champion, you also have someone that is dedicated to production support. It doesn't mean that they're not working on new pieces of functionality either, but at least their capacity, you look at lessering what they actually have to achieve from a velocity point of view and working on making sure that production and what's already live is maintained and is of high priority. The next thing we have is managing big implementation team with Agile. So I know there's some frameworks that say keep your team small, and sometimes it doesn't work. So we mixed it up. We allowed big teams. So currently I have a Scrum team of maybe, with testers and analysts, I would say about 15 people, but it works because we made it work. So if it does come to crunch time where we have to actually look at delivering value and get focus people, we created focus groups where you would have a certain members of the team working on a particular component to deliver that feature. So it does still speak back to your goal of what you're trying to achieve, but the focus groups will allow, even in a big team, certain individuals delivering and working on certain components. Then the next thing that we have is dev champion per component. So did you ever have a big implementation and no one knew the entire implementation from end to end and what is expected to be delivered? So we introduced dev champions. Dev champions is allowing your developers to understand the intricacies of the component. So they actually break down your task for you, and they speak in refinement to those tasks that they've broken down. It doesn't mean that they're delivering the task. The entire team still delivers the task or those components, but you have one person that actually understands the details of that component. So you have someone to go back to. Besides your system analyst and your business analyst, at least you have someone technical that can actually understand the implementation and the technical know-how and how to deliver that component. Then we have, so big implementations, sometimes it's a big, massive project that's gonna take a while to deliver the entire solution. So we had our analysis cycle, a sprint ahead, sorry. So analysis was always done a sprint before implementation, and your testing was done a sprint after. Having testing cycle in your current sprint of development adds a lot of pressure on your actual dev team. So having the testing done a sprint behind makes sure that you reach the quality that's needed. Okay, getting Agile right is difficult. But the thing that I think organizations are not focusing on is the culture. And I know that a lot of the presentations today also spoke about people being the center of it. Having happy people invested in what they're delivering makes a big difference. If they actually give a shit, you'll see better results. But in order for them to give a shit, you have to create a healthy working environment. So why? Happy employees, so this was a study actually done through SurveyMonkey, and I think over 1 million responses they received. So the results of that was happy employees provide better customer service. So they make sure that they're putting their customers first. They make sure that whatever they're achieving is for business value. Both millennials and Gen Zs are more likely than baby boomers and Gen Xers to prioritize overall happiness at the work and at home. So, you have a lot of Gen Zs entering the marketplace. Have you noticed that mental health is very prominent in their lives and they take it very seriously? From millennials and baby boomers, we never thought about it. We never prioritized it. But it's real. And because there's so much opportunities for Gen Zs, they will leave a job because of an unhealthy environment, and they will find a new job. To keep them and to make this organization or the environment future-proof for the generations coming in, you have to take culture seriously and focus on the culture of the organization. Unhappy employees will leave to find happiness. You see your top performers, the ones that you don't want to leave, they're getting approached by so many different organizations, and they will leave if they're unhappy. It's very hard to just keep one person happy in a big environment, but having a culture that speaks to people centricity will enable that. A positive workplace culture will improve employee satisfaction levels and translates into higher motivation and productivity. Having a happy environment, an inclusive environment, you don't have to force people to think beyond their piece or their lane. They do it on their own. Accountability is not something pushed on them. It's something they already obtain in a healthy environment. It's something that I've seen actually happen in a healthy environment. So story time. We work in the bank, there's lots of dependency areas, and each area or each division has their own flavor or their own culture of how they do things. When we had a meeting with them, and I think it was an in-person meeting, there was a program manager that said, "Wow, your team is so happy. They're so united," because it was a foreign concept to their team. Their team was driven by fear, and fear culture is really dampening to delivery. But seeing that made me understand having a team that's united and happy will make sure that delivery is achieved every step of the way. How? Be transparent and honest. Be transparent and honest with your team about the expectations of them and what business is saying. Be transparent and honest with business about what you can achieve and where your team is at and what has been delivered. Don't try to fabricate the truth just to get buy-in. Being transparent will create unity with business and your implementation teams. Prioritize work-life balance to keep employees happy, also very important. Working over weekends and overtime should not be a given, because nobody's working just to live. No one's living just to have a job. No, people have lives outside of their job. And taking away their additional family time or activity or leisure time is actually dampening to an actual human. Be inclusive when making decisions. Don't dictate what the team should do. Make them part of the solution and part of why we're doing this. Explain to them the problems and come up with solutions together. Inclusivity is very important into getting buy-in from your team, as well as from business. Promote positive work environments, I spoke about that. Creating a sense of community at work is important. So working remotely somehow broke your sense of community because you're no longer interacting in your free time, having coffee breaks or a smoke break with your colleagues to understand where they are in life. But having a team that has community, or even the entire project group having a sense of community, that we're achieving this together, that you are another person and I care about you, and I want to know more about what you're interested in, does actually make it more happy to work in, because you feel like people actually give a shit about who you are and what you're trying to achieve. And make employees part of the bigger picture to keep them happy. So when business decides that these are the top priorities, having your team understand why those decisions were made, having them close to business is actually a good thing. Stop trying to protect your team from what you deem as protecting them from the business and noise. Expose them to what is expected, what's happening from a management or senior level in order for them to understand the bigger picture. When they understand the bigger picture, you will achieve quality and you will achieve fast results all the time. And I end with, don't be afraid to make Agile work for you. Do you know that Tesla is actually running their own framework of Agile? Because they've taken a few different frameworks and they've took what is relevant to them, what would work for them, and they came up with their own concept. They made it work for them. They didn't take a framework and just implement it like it's a silver bullet. They came up with what's important to their organization and what could work. Dare to write your own recipe of Agile. You don't have to follow a rule book. There is no rule book. Do what actually works for your organization. And that's it. Questions?
Any questions?
A few.
Oh, there. Yes, can we give the mic to somebody
Yes,
who
I'm
can
not that fast.
walk faster than that?
Okay, thank you so much.
Wobbly speed.
Kobus, I just want to confirm that at NetBank, we had an issue with both the name and the surname. It was actually quite difficult. So for my sins, I was an RPA developer when she was Scrum Master at NetBank in 2017. But anyway, to my question. So the one thing that comes natural to people is just wanting to deal with certainty and the known. How do you get that balance, in terms of venturing into the unknown, not being afraid, but also recognizing the fact that people are creatures of certainty? Here's a quote that actually underscores that point. It says that the secret in life is knowing what to do when you don't know what to do. So it just shows that people are creatures of certainty. How do you get that balance right?
My retrospectives are extremely real. So I create a safe space to have open conversations. Open conversations about things that you dare not to speak about in an organization, but understanding different characters and how they fit into your team makes you approach things differently. So if I'm understanding your question correctly, sometimes people are, especially developers, they want certainty of what's going to happen. And this is why Agile is a mindset. You have to make them comfortable with being adapting to change, and thinking differently from what they were exposed to. So in having that environment or having those discussions can sometimes open up their mind to think differently. Cool.
Yeah. So, Celicia?
Yeah, I don't see you.
Oh, yeah. You spoke about quite a number of interesting topics or aspects. In particular, I would like to zoom into the one where you spoke about testing cycle, which happens a sprint behind. So, could you double click a bit on that sprint behind concept in terms of, based on your experience, how do you implement testing a sprint behind?
Okay, so what I mean by behind as in a sprint after implementation. So when you deliver a piece of functionality, or you're achieving to deliver a piece of functionality, sometimes you'll notice in your testing, in your sprint cycle, sometimes the development is done until the last day of the sprint, yeah? So even in your cycle, you'll have unit tests that the developer does. So he does his own testing, or they do their own testing. They have peer review, code review, but in order for the testing team to feel comfortable, they have to test not just the new component, but how does it fit in with everything else? So end-to-end testing, make sure that the quality and it hasn't interrupted any other integration that you didn't see in your analysis. So having testing as a cycle after doesn't mean that there's no implementation in that cycle, but at least your testing team has a goal and focus of what they're actually trying to test.
Okay, makes sense, thank you.